सभी को नमस्कार। हम लोग अभी मंगलाचरण करने जा रहे हैं। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम वेदपुरुषाय नमः। ओम श्री गुरुचरण कमलेभ्यो नमः। ओम मातृपितृचरण कमलेभ्यो नमः। मंगलम भगवान् विष्णु मंगलम गरुड़ध्वज मंगलम पुंडरीकाक्ष मंगलाय तनो हरि। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। हरिः ओम। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिर्वाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तारक्षो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु प्रेकादशवा मारुताः वृषणीमातरः शोभं जावानो विदधे भोजगमायाः अग्निजिह्वा मानवाः सूर्यचक्षुषो विश्वेनो देवा अवसागमन्निः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवा भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजतराः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनो बिभ्यसे महिदेवहितं जदायोः शतमिन्नो शरदो अन्तिदेव जतरानश्चकरा जरसन्तनो नाम पकरासो जतरा पितर भवन्ति मान मध्यारीरिकदायुर्गन्धः आदित्यरादितिरन्दारिक्षमदितिर्माता स पिता स पुत्रः विधवे देवा अदितिः पंचजना अदितिर्जातमदितिर्जानितवं माध्योः शान्तिरन्तरिक्षगुं शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोगादयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः श्यामा शान्तिरेधि जतो यतः समीहते ततो न अभयं कुरु षण्णः कुरु प्रजाभ्यो भयन्नः वसुभ्यः शान्तिर्भवतु। विगणेश्वराय वरदाय सुराप्रियाय लंबोदराय सकलाय जगद्धिताय नागाननाय श्रुतियज्ञविभूषिताय गौरीसुताय गणनाथ नमो नमस्ते। सानन्दमानन्दवने वसन्तम् आनन्दकन्दम् हतपापवृन्दम् वाराणसीनाथमनाथनाथम् श्रीविश्वनाथम् शरणं प्रपद्ये श्रीविश्वनाथम् शरणं प्रपद्ये। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सभी को नमस्कार।
Namaste, everybody. Welcome you all into this session of uh, Katha Upanishad recitation and discourses. This is our third discourse on Katha Upanishad. Uh, so, before we start this Katha Upanishad, I would like to read out a uh, an observation or a comment which has been done by Dr. Edgar Mitchell. So, Dr. Edgar Mitchell is the sixth man to walk on the moon. So, as we know that, there are many people who have walked on the moon, very few people. Among them is Dr. Edgar Mitchell. So, when one has to go to the moon, he has to go outside the Earth's atmosphere, and then he has to travel through space and then enter into the orbit of moon and then ultimately land into the moon. So while doing this, he has some kind of realization. He had some kind of realization apart from physics, apart from all those astrophysics or all those understanding of the universe or interstellar object, all these things. So apart from this, there was one experience that he has gathered during this journey to the moon and then return. So he writes in one of his notes that I theorize that there is a spectrum of consciousness available to human being. So why I am putting up this particular comment in our Katha Upanishad discussion is because we need to understand that these what we are discussing in the Upanishads, that is a real science. When we talk about science, we talk about material science. We talk about physical science, but that is that is the science of the matter. But there is other sciences also which are superior, and the one which governs the universe, which relates, which talks about the consciousness, that is the best, and that is the superior science, or the highest kind of science or technology, you can say. So this man, who is an astronaut, who went to the moon, and then while he was coming back, so he had this experience that human being has they have a spectrum of consciousness. Means the consciousness that you see now, the consciousness that you are using now, is not the only consciousness. Now, when you talk about your consciousness, what is that consciousness? Your consciousness about your mind, your consciousness about your body, your consciousness about your intellect and ego, and your consciousness about your surroundings. That is the consciousness that you know. So, when we talk about consciousness, we talk about awareness, whatever we can, we can perceive. That's all. The awareness which is perceived by us is called, our consciousness, or is perceived to be my consciousness. But here the scientists say, like the rishis, that we have a spectrum of consciousness. That is, the consciousness that you see now, or the consciousness that you know as your consciousness, is not the only consciousness. There is other consciousness also. And what are that? At one end is the material consciousness. This is one which we are all aware. Material consciousness, that consciousness which makes us aware about the matter, which makes us, which gives us the knowledge of the matter of this day-to-day life. That's all. So this is one consciousness, but this is at one end. This consciousness is at one end. At the other end is what we call field consciousness. And at the other end, we have this field consciousness. There is, infinite consciousness. Here, at this end, the consciousness is constricted. It is it is it is finite. It is finite. It is only it is only subjected to matter. It cannot show you beyond matter. You cannot show anything. You cannot see anything beyond matter. But there is another consciousness which is a field. That is, it's there everywhere, like magnetic field. Though you see, though you cannot see, it is there. Electrical field. Though you don't see, electromagnetic field. So this field, you don't see it. You cannot perceive it. Through your senses. But still, it exists. So here also, though you cannot perceive the consciousness, but the consciousness is there, and this consciousness is a field of consciousness. At one end is the material consciousness, at the other end is the field consciousness, where a person is at one with the universe. When the person is one with the universe, this Aham Brahmasmi, I am Atma Brahma, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, I'm one, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. These are the words, these are the sayings of the Upanishads, that everywhere, everything is conscious. Isa Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagattam Jagat. In every paragraph, in most of the paragraphs of Upanishad, you will see the same resonance. You will say the same resonance. Always it's saying you are one with the universe. Whatever you see outside is what you are inside. Your outside and your inside is not different. It's all the same. It's the same consciousness which is manifesting itself into the outer world. Is the same consciousness what we have within. So here it says that where a person is at one with the universe, the person is one with the universe, perceiving the universe. While he perceives the universe, he can feel that I'm one with the universe. Just by looking at our planet on the way back, I saw or felt a field conscious state. He says, when I was coming back from the moon, and while I was coming back, I could feel, this field consciousness within me, that I am not only in this body, that I'm not only, is limited into this body. I am beyond this body also. My existence is not only limited within this body. My existence is there. It's like a field. It's everywhere. So this is what he has felt. And this is what Vedanta says. That you are not a body, you are not a mind, you are not an intellect, you are not the ego. When it talks about when it says you, that is, you means that consciousness. That consciousness is not the body, that consciousness is not the mind, that consciousness is not the ego, that consciousness is not the, the world. So what is that consciousness? That consciousness is everything, is infinite. So, so Vedanta has got a very, very, very very sharp similarity with science. And now the scientists or the astronomers, they are also started to feel, this consciousness, which is a very, very important and welcoming, event. So thank you very much. So we start this the point where we are, where in our last deliberation was this. If you see the Katha Upanishad, when Yama started to talk about the knowledge of the self or the knowledge of consciousness, you will see that Yama is giving more and more importance on the resolution of Nachiketa. He's not talking about any other things. That resolution, that firm resolution, that firm conviction is the actual quality of Nachiketa. And this resolution, this firm resolution, has received a very, 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 very high, degree of appreciation from Yama. because he's a child, and Yama has given him all kinds of temptations. He has presented before him all the schemes of temptations, but Nachiketa was very, 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 very firm in his own pursuit to have this knowledge which is subtle, which is subtle, which is a mystery, and which cannot be known easily. It's very rare, and that is what Yama was very impressed. That even though I have given you so many temptations, I've given you so many other other options to choose, but you did not deflect from your path. You're always in the path. Your feet was always your feet were always very firm on the ground. So this is what we also need to understand. When we aspire for self knowledge, when we have this aspiration of self knowledge, we need to also have this very firm conviction that the goal of my life is to attain the knowledge of the self. The goal of the life is not to enjoy, not to have physical pleasure, or pleasure through wealth, or pleasure through all your prosperity. That is not the pleasure. The real pleasure, the real joy, the real fulfillment comes with the knowledge of the infinite, and that infinite is me. So the real joy comes from the knowledge of the self. So this is my goal. So here it says, this is the point where we had stopped our second session. So this is the place. Naisha tarkena matirapaneya proktanna neva sugyanaya preshta ya tomapa satya dhritir vatasi tadriganyo bhuyan nachiketa prashta. He says that this knowledge that I'm talking about, this subject, the subject of the self, the knowledge of the self, it cannot be realized, it cannot be received, it cannot be perceived by logic. So when we hear all these things, when we hear this Vedanta Upanishads, and when we hear that I am the self, what we do is we somehow have this intellectual knowledge. We have this intellectual knowledge. Well, I am the self, I am consciousness. But that is not enough. We need to go one step ahead of that. And what is the step ahead? The step ahead is you have to know, you have to experience this jnana and vijnana. If you remember, when we were talking in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna was talking about the state of a yogi. What is the state of a yogi? He said, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kuthastha Vijitendriya Mukta Ittuchate Yogi Samaloshta Ashma Kanchana. So this was the characteristics of a yogi. What is the characteristics of the yogi? He says, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma. He not only, Gyan means this knowledge of the scriptures, knowing about Vedanta, knowing about the Upanishads, the knowledge of the Upanishads, intellectual knowledge. You need that. Because when you're moving towards the self, you need to have this intellectual knowledge, and this intellectual knowledge will help you in developing the perception of the self. So you need that intellectual knowledge. But your goal is not to have this intellectual knowledge. It's like a tools. It's like a tool that you will use. But you need to reach the goal, and the goal is to experience it. Jnana Vijnana. Vijnana means experiencing what I am being told. Like you have been told that milk is very good for health. I know that milk is very good for health, and I drink, but I have never drank milk. I know that it comes from cow, and it gives me very good health. It has got calcium, it has got iron, these and so on and so forth. But somebody brought one glass of milk and he gave it to me and said, drink it. So when I drink the milk, I not only have the intellectual knowledge of the milk, but I also have the the feelings, the experience of milk. So here also you need to have the intellectual knowledge of the understanding of the Upanishads. At the same time, you also need to experience it. So if you could just keep it like, okay, I've known this, I've known this mentally, intellectually, then the knowledge is not complete. It is not aparoksha. It is not aparoksha. It doesn't have any realization. It is apparent knowledge. It's an apparent knowledge. It's not a pure knowledge. And because it's an apparent knowledge, it will not stay. It will go. It will go. It will not depend upon, because it doesn't depend upon experience. So this knowledge is not a permanent knowledge. It is an impermanent knowledge. So, here it says that this knowledge cannot be established through logic. It cannot be established through, so you might have a very, very fine, fine reasoning. You might have a very fine reasoning, but if you don't have the experience of the knowledge of the self, then this reasoning will not work. So it says, Naisha tarkena matirapaneya proktan naiva sugyanaya preshta. Without having full knowledge, without having full knowledge of the self, without having full knowledge of the subject which is discussed. And what is the full knowledge? It is the experience. It is the realization, feelings. It is the experience, the realization, the feelings. And when I feel it, how do I feel it? I feel it through meditation and through samadhi. So first of all, I need to meditate, means I need to focus. I need to focus on it. My whole mind should be concentrated on this subject. That is called meditation. And when my whole mind is concentrated into the subject, my mind will just disperse, will just just dissolve into the subject that I'm focusing. And what is the subject? It is consciousness. So my mind, my ego, my intellect, my being, my whole being will just dissolve into this consciousness and become consciousness. Like you put salt into water. When you put salt into water, the salt cannot maintain its own individuality, its own identity. It gets dissolved into the water. Here also, when you come in contact with consciousness, with that absolute consciousness, your mind or your intellect or your ego cannot keep its own existence. They dissolved into the self and they exist through the existence of the self. And because this happens, that is why the mind or the body or the intellect or the ego, they are not true. Because they cannot stay forever. Whenever they come in contact with consciousness, they dissolve into the consciousness. They disappear. They disappear. Only consciousness stays. And that is why, Yama says that only experience is important. Logic or intellectual learning is not important at all. He says, Ya tumapa satta dhritir vatasi tradiganno bhuyan nachiketa prashta. You have a very sound and firm resolute. You are very firm, resolute. You're very strong mentally. People talk about strength, so they talk about physical strength. But what is really needed is this mental strength, which can, withhold all temptations. Which can withhold all temptations. So here the Yama says that you are the one which was always which is always firm in this resolution, and we expect and we hope that all the aspirants that we get who wants to know the self has got a character like you, Nachiketa. Means the aspirant should have a character like Nachiketa. And what is the character of Nachiketa? Nachiketa's character is uncompromising. He does not compromise. He has been given all kinds of options, but he does not compromise. He stays at the very subject that I need this knowledge. So let's now go further. Then Yama says, Janamyaham shevadhiritya nityam nahya dhrube prapyate hi dhrubam tata tato maya nachiketaschinogni anitya drabbai prapnavanasmi nityam. Yama says that I know what is the truth and what is not truth. When I see this world, I know that what is the truth and what is not truth, what will not stay. That I know this, and that is why and I also know that the truth cannot be attained through falsehood. If I aspire for truth, if I aspire to know the truth, then it cannot come through falsehood. I have to establish myself into the truth. It cannot come the way I am. No, it cannot come like that. I need to establish myself in the truth, because through falsehood one does not attain truth. Yama says that I know that the whole world is falsehood, because no one can attain truth by being in the path of falsehood. And that is why, O Nachiketa, I have sacrificed everything that I had, all the false things, all the false objects, all the false subjects, all the false belongings, that I have. I have just, surrendered everything. I've surrendered everything, and that is how I have reached the truth. So, to reach the truth, you need to give up everything that is false. Now, what is that everything which is false? That everything which is false is your ego. The moment you can give up your ego, you see, me and mine. This notion of me and mine, this is the main bondage. This is the main bondage. This is the main obstacle. It's a bondage. It's an obstacle. It's a mask. The whole knowledge, this infinite knowledge, is covered by this me, me and mine thing. So if you have to give up, you see, whatever we have, I have this, I have that. Why I have this, I have that? Because I have this me and mine. I know that is mine. I know that is mine. I know that is mine. This me and mine is the root cause of my bondage. Is the root cause. So to give up, what I should give up? I should give up this notion of me and mine. The moment I can give up this notion of me and mine, I'm free. I'm free. So here Nachiketa says, Yama says to Nachiketa that Nachiketa, whatever I had, all those false subjects, false belongings, I just gave up. Now, one is your material belonging. So you need to, that is not important. Either you give up this material belonging or not, that is not important. What is more important, or what is the most important, is this, your me and mine. This is your mental belonging. The moment you can give up this notion, nothing is yours, and this I that you think you are is not you. We say this I is not my real I. The moment you can understand this fact, the moment you can understand this fact that this I that you use, and this I am this, I am that, I will go there, I will go, I will come there, I will eat, I will dance. All this this I is not the reality. This I is false. This I does not exist. It is false. This I is just a reflection of the real I. There is a real I, and I am that real I. Because that real I is covered, it is masked. I have a distance because of ignorance, because I don't know that I, because I don't know my own I. I'm not aware about my own I. That is why I consider this I, this non-existent I to be my real I. And this is called, this is called Maya, this is called bondage. You are not this I, but you presume that this is I. This is Maya. This is bondage. So Yama says that I've given up that. I've given up everything into that Agni, into that fire, and I've become pure. I've come. Kama Saptim Jagata Pratishtham Kratura Ananta Abhayasya Param Stoma Mahad Urugayam Pratishtham Drishtva Dhritya Dhiro Nachiketatya Sakshri. It's very important. We also need to follow this. Kama Saptim Jagata Pratishtham. You have been given so many choices to enjoy, but you did not. You did not adhere to all those temptations. That means all the desires are fulfilled within you. You have fulfilled all your desires, because this desire to know that desire to attain heaven and enjoy. This desire to attain heaven and enjoy, you have given up that desire also, because your second question was this: that how to attain heaven. And I have told you that this is the way how to attain heaven, and I have named that fire sacrifice also after you. That was, after that you shouldn't have any question, but still then you had this question of the self. That means that desire which has been completed. Anybody in this world who have this, who have who knows the path to reach the heaven, he does not need anything more, because he knows that he will spend the rest of his life in the heaven happy, being happy. But you are not happy. You wanted to know the truth. That means you have transcended that fulfillment of the desire also. You have also transcended the fulfillment of the desire. And by doing this, you don't know that the desire of heaven is the real support of this world. The world is based on this joy, happiness. Everybody needs happiness. Everybody needs joy. So the world is, the support of this world is heaven. You have rejected that heaven also. Kratura Ananta Abhayasya Param. By meditation, you have reached that infinite. By meditating, you have reached that infinite, and that infinite, which when attained, one becomes fearless. You have meditated upon this, that, well, I have nothing to desire. I have nothing to desire. I don't need anything in this world or the other world. The only thing that I need is the truth. So when I need the truth only, then I don't have any fear. I don't have any fear of losing. I don't have any fear of fear of death, because I am not the body. I don't have any fear of death. I don't have any fear of losing. So you have meditated upon that, and you have reached that infinite, infinite plane where there is only fearlessness. Where there is only fearlessness. You have reached, oh Nachiketa, you have reached the other shore. The other shore mentally. You did not, you don't hanker in this world. You are not attached at all. You are not attached at all. You have reached the other shore. You have reached the other shore. Then it says, Stoma Mahad Urugayam Pratishtham. The path which is praiseworthy, the path which is praiseworthy, and the path which is glorious, that path is revealed unto you. That means this path of heaven, or this path of desires, of fulfillment of desires in this world, they are not praiseworthy. They are not glorious. The path, after you have meditated and you have just rejected everything, after you have meditated and rejected all the temptations, all the desires, the praiseworthy, glorious path is revealed unto you. And then drashtva dhritya dhiro nachiketa sakshi, and by seeing that you are firm on it. By seeing that you are firm on it, and by seeing that you have already reached the path which will lead you towards glory, the path which is praiseworthy, and the path which will lead you to glory, you have already, when you have already seen that, you have rejected everything. You have rejected the whole world. You have rejected all the, you have denied all the happening. You just need the truth. Then it talks about the self. It says, tam durdasham guram anuprabhrishtam guahitam gavvareshta puranam adhyatma yoga digamena devam matva dhiro harsha shoko jahati. It says, that self that you want to know, that consciousness, that existence, that truth is durdarshanam. That is, it is very, very hard to see. It is very, very hard to realize. It is very hard to it is very, very hard to reach there, hard to experience it. It's not so easy. Why? Because guram anuprabhrishta. It's very, very, it's very, very mysterious. It's very, very mysterious, and it's in the depth of the cave. So what is the cave? The depth of your heart is in the cave. It is not in the surface of your mind. When we talk about mind, what do we talk about? The surface, the surface of the mind. We only see the surface of the mind, and that is the mind that we talk about. When we say my mind, I only talk about those thoughts which I can see in the surface. But there is another mind which is in the depth of of the thoughts of your consciousness. That mind has never revealed itself. That mind does not reveal itself unto you, and that is why you have no idea about that mind. So the knowledge of the self is there in the depth of your mind. And the depth of your mind is called, hridaya, that is your heart. The depth of the mind is called heart. So this knowledge is kept in the depth of your mind, into the heart, where guhahitam gavvareshta puranam. This is very, very, very ancient knowledge. It's the most ancient knowledge, like, in this world, the ancientest, the ancientest matter is diamond. There is no other matter more ancient than diamond, because that this carbon which has been compressed, and when this diamond is formed, these diamonds are the carbon of those ancientest time. So in the physical world, the most ancient thing is is diamond. So when you wear a diamond ring or anything, you should always know that I'm wearing the most primitive thing in this world. But it says that this knowledge of the self is the most ancient because it has been with you for eternity. It's traveling with you from eternity. Guhahitam gavvareshtam puranam. This knowledge stays in the depth of your heart, which is very, very ancient. Adhatma yogat adigamena deva. This knowledge is only possible. This knowledge is only possible when you become one with this. When you become one with this, when you become one with this consciousness, when you dissolve into this consciousness, when you become one with this consciousness, when you have no separation, till you have this separation with that consciousness, you have not known that self. But the moment you have you have dissolved into it, you have become one with it. That is the only way by which you know him. Adhatma yogadi gamena devam. That knowledge, that God is only possible when you can know him as your own self. As your own self. Matva dhiro harsha shoko jahati. And the wise man, after knowing him, they transcend all the worldly happiness and sorrows. This worldly men. Then he says, etat shutva samparigrijya mattu prabrijya dharmam anumeta mapya samodate modaniyam hi labdha vibritam sadma nachiketa sammanye. The Lord says, this Yama says, what he says? Etat shutva samparitya grijya. By knowing him, mrittu, the Yama is saying, by knowing about him, first of all you have to know about him, first of all you have to listen. Etat shutva, listening. From whom you should listen? Before Yama has said, you need to listen it from an adept person. Everybody cannot say this. A person who has read the Upanishads, and then you go to him and you say that tell me about the Upanishad, and he starts to deliver a lecture, and by listening to that lecture, if you think that you will have the knowledge of the self, it is impossible. This knowledge can only be experienced when you will be instructed by a person who has experienced this self, who has a first hand experience. A person who has this first hand experience, when this person will speak from his heart, from his experience, that is the time when the knowledge will flow from one heart to another heart. And what will the knowledge do when it penetrates your heart? It will remove all the ignorance. Knowledge is bright. So when it enters into your heart, it will remove all the darkness, all the ignorance, and you will become enlightened. So Yama says, by listening about this self, one has to have a firm perception. I am the self. The master will tell you, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. You are the self. You are the self. You are the self. You are that consciousness. When we talk about consciousness, the master will say, it is not anybody else. It is not, this consciousness or this Brahman is not somebody who is who is different from you, who is apart from you. No, it is you, your own self. This knowledge, this consciousness is you. So this you need to perceive. Perceive when you listen to the master. When Maitreyi, when he asked the secret of knowledge, how can I have this knowledge? So her husband, Yagyavalka, he said, Atmano va are srotavya, mantavya, nididhashitavya, samadhitavya, Maitreyi. This knowledge has to be heard, then meditated, and then heard, then then contemplated, then meditated, and then you need to attain samadhi. Then you will know about this knowledge. And this this hearing should be from a person who has already known the self, who has the experience of the self. So Yama says that when you listen it from somebody, some real master, then you contemplate, and then what happens? Prabrijya dharmam anumetamatya. Then you separate. Then you, after listening, when you listen this from the master, then you have this conviction that yes, I am the self. And when you have this this conviction that I am the self, then what you do? You separate yourself from everything which is not you, not yourself. What is that which is not you? Your body. Your idea that I am the body is not you. Your idea that you are the mind is not you. Your idea that you are the ego, your idea that you are the intellect, your idea this world is yours. Your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, these all ideas of me and mine, you need to separate yourself from all this. You need to completely separate yourself, become free from that. And that is what Yama is saying, that once you listen this, then you have this firm conviction, firm perception, yes, I'm the self. And while doing this, then you need to get rid of all those nonsense things that you have kept within you, me and mind. And anumeta, and then only you can have the glimpse of that, then only you can have the glimpse of that very subtle existence, very, very subtle existence. This Atman, this consciousness is very subtle. Till you give up all that which is not you. Now, when we talk about giving up, is it all physical? Should I give up my body? Should I give up my mind? How can I give up my body? How can I give up my mind? How should I give up everything, all my belongings, and become a beggar? No. It doesn't say this. It says that with everything in this world, you have an imaginary connection. This body, it's not yours. It's not you. You are residing inside this body. You are the Jivatman, but this is a body. It's a Deha, and you are the Dehi. Dehi Nityam Abuddham Dehe Sarvasya Bharata. There's something called Deha, and another is Dehi. So this Dehi, the one which is residing in this body, is not the body. So you are not the body. Now, so when I know that I am not the body, what should I do? Should I reject my body? Should I give up my body? Should I commit suicide? No. You need to find out the connection. The connection. What is that connection? The connection is this, that you think this body is yours. This is the connection. Your connection with the body is not that you are staying in the body. The connection with this body is that you think that this body is yours. This thought, that this is mine, this is the connection. You need to give up that one. So that is what Yama is saying. You need to give up that connection, mental connection. Mental connection. In one of the Upanishads, in this one of the Upanishads, it says that Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chindante Sarva Sanshaya. Now, Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya Granthi means the knot in the heart. What is this knot he's talking about? What is this knot? This knot is about the matter and consciousness. What is matter? Anything which is not me. So this body is not me, but there is a knot between me and this body. Now, when I'm talking about giving up, I need to give up this connection. I have this body. I need to stay here. I need to stand with this firm conviction that I am not the body. Then I have this, this idea that this mind is mine, this intellect is mine, this ego is mine. This mind is mine, the ego is mine, the intellect is mine. So this also I have. So I need to give up this. No, this mind is also not me. These are also not me. I am free from this. I'm beyond this. I'm consciousness. I'm not this. So this is what is, Vedanta talks about giving up. This is called tyaga. This is sacrifice. This is renunciation. Renunciation does not mean, wearing one saffron robe. No. Renunciation means giving up this notion that I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, I am this ego. So in the same way, you have this connection with every other things in this world. My father, my mother, my sister, my brother, my son, my daughter, my husband, everything is mine. There is one, the imaginary connection. So you need to give up that. Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chindante Sarva Sanshaya. The moment this is not between, the knot between the matter and consciousness is gone, then only all your confusions, all your doubts, all your ignorance also vanishes. So the root cause of your ignorance, of your not knowing yourself, is this imaginary connection. So you need to give up that imaginary connection. Okay? And that is why it says, it is very subtle. To know this reality, you need to give up this one. Samodate modaniyam hi labdha. After one has done this, after one has given up everything in this way, given up means not like the way it is, given up this notion of me and mine. After one has given up this notion of me and mine, then he's free, then he's happy. Then he's happy. He does not see anything which can bind him. He does not see anything which can make him unhappy, make him sad, can disturb him. Because he knows that he is consciousness. Nothing is his. Everything is just a play, a divine play. So when he sees this divine play, then he is happy. And samodate modaniyam hi labdha. He enjoys. He enjoys because he have then attained those what is enjoyable. He becomes joyful because that is the point where he has actually received joy. And that is why he is joyful. Bibhrityam sadma nachiketa sammanye. And oh Nachiketa, I consider you to have attained this path, attained this house of happiness. Because you have given up everything. So what the Guru is saying, I consider Nachiketa, oh Nachiketa, I consider you to have attained that step, that house. Sadma means house. You have attained that house of happiness, I consider you. So when Yama said this, up to this, then Nachiketa saw request again. So here Nachiketa says, Anyatra dharman, anyatra adharma, anyatra asmakrita kritat, tat pashti tadvad. Tell me, Lord, what is there which is beyond virtue and vice? Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat. What is there which lies beyond this? About virtue, I know about vice. What is that which is beyond this virtue and vice? And then anyatra asmat krita 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 apkritat. What is that which lies beyond cause and effect? This whole world is a relation between cause and effect. This happens because of this, that happens because of that. So everywhere there is this relationship between cause and effect. The effect again becomes a cause and it produces another effect. In this way it goes on. So on and so forth. So here, Nachiketa is asking, tell me about which is beyond virtue and vice, which is beyond cause and effect. Anyatra bhutascha bhavascha, and which is beyond the past and the future. When there is no past, when there is no future, what is that? What is that which does not have any past, not have any future? What is that? Yat tat pashyasi tat. But tell me, I want to see that, I want to know that, I want to experience that. So today we stop here. From next, from the 15th mantra of the second chapter, we'll talk about, then Yama started to say, Sarva Veda Yat Padam Amananti Tapagumsi Sarvani Vadanti Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti. This is where he starts. When Nachiketa had given him, has prayed, oh Lord, tell me about their past and future. What is that? Yama starts. Sarve Veda Yat Padam Amananti. All the Vedas, the subject or the Vedas existence. Sarva Veda Yat Padam Amananti. Tapangshi Sarvani cha Yad Vadanti. And all the people who are performing austerity, who are undergoing this austerity to realize, to attain somebody, that person, that to attain that, brahmachari, a sannyasi, a monk, a brahmachari, he, a celibate, he spends the whole life only to know about that. Brahmacharyam charanti takte padam sangrahena brabimi. I am talking to you about that existence. And what is that existence? Om iti tat. That is called Om. Om. That's that Brahman, that existence, which the Vedas talk about, which this is the same thing in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita also. Lord Krishna had said the same thing in the 9th chapter, in the 9th or 8th chapter. The sloka was Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yattad Vitaraga Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tatte Padam Sangrahena Prashe. That is what Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, the same thing. Sarvate Veda Yat Padamananti Tapangshi Sarvani Cha Yad Vadanti Yadit Om Iti Tat. That one is the self. That self. To know the self. So this is from where it starts. So let's stop here, and then again when we'll discuss in English, I will give you this notification. So tomorrow we are going to start Bhagavatam, life of Lord Krishna, Bhagavatam, in Bengali and English both. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat.